You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I'm joined by Tom Vanderford, the mayor of Corinth, who last night at the Rebel Road Trip, he got to go out and be the mayor of Corinth. I do want to apologize to the actual mayor of Corinth. I'm not serious. I'm just joking. But how you doing, Tommy?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and the mayor of Corinth's a good friend of mine. We grew up together, so it's good. Doing well. Enjoyed it last night. It was a unique experience. The funniest thing I got to share with you, I bought, it was buy 3 pair, get 1 free. So I came home with 4 pairs of footy socks from Dead Soxy, and I got home and they wouldn't fit my size 13 feet. So my wife got 4 pairs of footy socks. So she's pretty happy about that. Although I did get, it's backwards here. I got my Tri-State Rebel Club t-shirt. I bought that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't a total wash there. It was wonderful, man. You know, David Kellum was the host, of course, and Kelvin Bolden was there. And of course, the 2 big ones were Keith Carter spoke first, and then Lane Kiffin. It was really neat. I got to just tell you one thing real quick. Somebody in the crowd asked said Knox is getting all these. He's getting all these offers. Are you going to give him an offer? And he goes, no, we've talked about that. And his bloodline just ain't what it needs to be an SEC quarterback. And it was hilarious. He kind of gaffed it off.
Oh, any news they break in the Rebel Road Trip?
Not really. Keith Carter talked about our basketball team, and he said he had somebody asked a question, and he said, yeah. I watched them for a couple hours yesterday, and they're very athletic. And we've got a lot of shooters, a lot of scorers through the portal, and the ones that stayed. And he seems to think we're going to be pretty good. You know, Keith Carter, if he says they're going to be good, they're going to be good.
Yeah, when 3 out of your 4 best players off of a 20-win team comes back, 20 wins should be the minimum expectation.
Exactly. So he was pumped about that. Kiffin and him as well talked about how they a couple of years ago they were on the cutting edge of NIL. They were right out on the edge there, doing things that, you know, were a little risky, but they thought was within the edge. And they talked about, Walker Jones being an agent before, and how they all had a really good team, good synergy, and that all of that helped move to where we are right now with this wonderful roster we have going into the football season here, the 2024 football season.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, one of the best things that I have done at the Locked On Ole Miss podcast since we've been doing this is the relationship I've created with Walker Jones and the Grove Collective.
Yeah.
That is going to continue to bear fruit. We're going to start getting players in July whenever I come back from my vacation and all that. So yeah, I'm completely impressed. Now, we need to let everybody know, how did the mayor of Corinth handle the Rebel Road Trip last night? It sounds like everybody was coming up talking to you.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. I had people, a ton of people came up and said, "Hey, I watch you. I watch Stephen every day, and I watch you when you're on every week." And then I had a couple of folks that said, "Hey, I listen." So it was almost surreal. It was almost, it was just really, really good. And then, of course, I had a lot of friends that for whatever reason, they're not podcasters, and it was just good to see them and hang out with them. But I know I'm almost 60. but I'm still a kid at heart. And when they said that people could get a picture with Coach Kiffin on the stage, of course, in front of the Tri-State Rebel Club logo and the Dead Soxy logo.
Shout out Jason Simmons.
Yes, shout out. Met him. He's a really cool guy. And when I got up there, I was kind of like I was a kid. I was the first one in line. I shake his hand, and he's tall and lean, and I'm short and dumpy. And the first thing I said is, I'm so glad to meet you. Do you watch the Locked On Ole Miss podcast?
That's and that's why we have you on the show and everything. Is for the advertising. That's what we do. Yeah,
I'm not shy at all. And but no, he was just a really nice guy, really cordial. And I got my picture taken with him, and I'm waiting patiently to get a copy of it. It's
okay.
Be done 24 to 48 hours afterwards. So don't worry, when I get that, I'll be blowing up social media like I did my picture with Keith Carter. So
yeah, and Keith Carter, I got a shout out from Keith Carter apparently.
Yeah, you did. He said he really loved doing your podcast, and said it's an important integral part, of getting the word out there. And I don't think people understand just exactly the niche that you fill. You're every day. You have wonderful sources, and it's all for the low price of free.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. How do I have time to do all of this stuff for free? It's amazing.
It's cool. You are really, really a good ambassador for the University of Mississippi.
Well, we're getting ready to go on our vacation, or the Locked On Ole Miss vacation, to where I'm out next week, and I'm out the week of the 4th of July, except for the meet and greet that's going to be at the Walk-Ons in Ridgeland, Mississippi. What's your plans for the summer vacation?
Man, I don't know. I'm just trying to get acclimated to my new job, and trying to build up some vacation time for right now. And I probably won't do a lot this summer, but I only work 4 days a week now, so I get a 3-day weekend. I'm off every Friday, so that's pretty.
Quit bragging. Quit bragging. Nobody likes a bragger.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm kidding.
I'm just very fortunate.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. When we come back, Tom is going to give us his top 5 Ole Miss coaches. We're also going to talk media days, because after we come to vacations and all that, it's go time. It is time to hit the road, and we get to have this most anticipated football season in the history of Ole Miss. But first, passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, you're guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume? With all of that screaming and shouting, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, or part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, in just a second, Tommy is going to go on the top 5 hot seat. But first, realize I'm going to be out next week, and I'm going to be out the week of the 4th of July. And I think whenever I come back, it's about a week away from media days. It's go time at that point.
Isn't it wonderful? I do have one little thing I got to share with you real quick. It won't take
Okay.
much. Last night, someone came up to me and they go, I think it was the Dead Soxy guy. It was. He said, did you and Steven go to Ole Miss together? I said, no, I'm a lot older than Steven, but I will say this. He said, well, how did you get on the podcast? And I said, well, it's interesting. Steven had just started and he just put something out on Twitter and said, anybody interested in giving their perspective on Ole Miss sports? And I said, I've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah. And Jason, thank you for that. I do appreciate the fact that obviously I am not looking like a spring chicken. Yeah, it's okay. I think Tommy's got me by about 8 years. I think that's about it. I'm 48, so.
Oh, I got you by 10, brother.
Oh, okay. So, hey,
but I look young, no, not really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, we look as young as we need to look.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the way it is. But before we go into the top 5, I do want to say, Media Days is in Dallas, Texas, sometime in July. I don't know the exact date yet. I haven't got to the point where I need to learn that. But how many cowboy hats do you think we will see over the course of that week? Dallas, Texas.
Goodness. Thousands. No, we'll see. We'll see lots of cowboy hats, but I'll be honest with you. I think it's refreshing that it's in Texas. And I also think that's part of the allure of the new members. You got Texas, you got Oklahoma, and it wouldn't kill me if they moved the SEC office to Dallas. Anything to get it out of Birmingham, I would take it anywhere.
Well, I think they're going to try and put get all the coaches wearing a cowboy hat. I think that's going to happen at this Media Days, just for the photo op and all this, the liking, whatever. But everybody needs to do themselves a favor. And I learned this from Michael Katz. Go online and search Lane Kiffin sombrero. Apparently he went to the Sun Bowl when he was the coach of USC and they forced him to wear a sombrero. And it's one of the funniest pictures that So everybody, I'm going to,
I wish Mike Leach was still alive. I'd love to see him in a cowboy hat.
But he was at Texas Tech. So he's
exactly
probably out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, Tom Vanderford's on the hot seat. The way this goes, we count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today's topic is the top 5 Ole Miss head football coaches, and after it's over, we'll do some honorable mention as well. We'll start out with number 5, Tom.
Tommy Tuberville. Number 5 was Tommy. Number 4 is Hugh Freeze.
Okay.
Number 3 is Billy Brewer.
Dog.
Yeah. Number 2 is Lane Kiffin. And number 1 is Johnny Vaught.
Yeah, in my situation, and my list is going to come out next Thursday that I put out. But I do think there's a chance, because right now I think there's 3 tiers of coaches. Johnny Vaught is by himself. I mean, that's a free space for everybody.
All right.
But right now, Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze is kind of together. I think this year Lane Kiffin has an opportunity, if he is successful, to move into a tier kind of separate from Hugh Freeze, to whether he is in the second tier all by himself.
I agree. He, I know it was a different era, but Johnny Vaught has national championships at Ole Miss and nobody else does. So,
and SEC titles.
Exactly. Tons of them. So, you've got to look at that. But I agree with you. I think he's got a chance to go to 1B with a great year this year. And I'll tell you, last night at Rebel Road Trip, there are a lot of people that were talking national championship. So, they want it. And that's what they came to Ole Miss to do. And, we'll see how the year goes.
Yeah, the fact that we're just having this conversation, like Tom, people my age, your age, going through this, that's lived through the 70s and 80s and going to that, to have this conversation, people don't realize how far behind the curve Ole Miss was in the 70s or 80s. It was neglected at that point. And it took Billy Brewer to incrementally get it to a point to where it could grow. Tuberville changed the culture and everything. And then it kind of took off with David Cutcliffe into the 2000s. But yeah, I just don't think people realize how far behind the 8 ball Ole Miss was in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. We thought Steve Sloan was the answer, but unfortunately he didn't get some of his coordinators to come with him, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, coordinators, Bill Parcells.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, what do you got going on over the next week or two?
Well, Sunday's Father's Day, so the kids will come over and they'll give me the gifts. Of course, my daughter can't keep a secret, so I already know I got a white Nike Ole Miss hat from her, so because she can't keep a secret. Yeah. And my son will probably bring me a bag of junk food because that's how he rolls. So, and we'll all hang out, have a good time. I'll see the grandkids. Other than that, it's just work, man. Just really enjoying my job and really enjoying working with these young Ole Miss graduates, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Tom Vanderford comes on every week. He will not be on next week. He gets the week off, but he'll be back the week after that as we go. But we're almost there, Tom. We're almost there.
Awesome. Oh, and by the way, real quick, Cutcliffe was my alternate. So
yeah.
He was a really good coach, and he was my alternate. I just can't, after the last couple of years of Nutt, I just can't put him in there. But Cutcliffe for sure, he was number 6.
All right. Well, take care, Tom. And if you need anything from me, let me know, buddy.
Hey, same here, buddy. Hotty toddy, everybody.
Hotty toddy.